The first question is from a guy who says, my wife and I went on vacation. I wanted to go for 9 days, and she wanted 7 days. She agreed to 9. Okay, so I'm just going to choose 2 of 20 things we could talk about just from that first 3 sentences. She agreed to go for 9, even though earlier she said 7. So she doesn't get to whine about it later. Really. This is though I were talking to her. Once you've agreed to a thing, you've agreed. So you can change your plans later, but you don't get to whine about it. Say, well, see, I told you I wanted 7. No, you're done. You agreed. Now, speaking to the guy who wanted 9, you have to be careful about she agreed. Because if you push your partner, you make it really clear what you want, and you would be disappointed if you didn't get 9 days. And she agrees, but you can see on her face this kind of not quite all the way in. Then she didn't agree. Even if, agreed means really all the way in. The word agree doesn't mean anything. This is really important to everybody who's listening. So get this. You have to watch somebody for what they say, for their lips, for their eyes, for their body posture, for their tone of voice, for everything. 93% of communication, they say, how do they assess this, is nonverbal. So if she agreed reluctantly, that's not agreeing. But we've made our 2 points. Let's keep going. You say, we're now on the last 2 days of the vacation. So this is important. This is the last two days past what she really wanted in the beginning. So we knew something was going to happen, didn't we? And she's unhappy. No kidding. Which means she didn't really agree in the first place. Probably. Almost certainly. She could have changed her mind, but I'm suspicious. She says she doesn't like being gone from home for this long. She has complained, sulked, made life miserable. What can I do? So, 2 distinct answers here. The first is, if I were speaking to her, I would say, honey, you can make any decision you want to. You can just go home on a separate flight, but you don't get to complain. You agreed. And yeah, you didn't agree completely, but you said agreed. And, if he wasn't paying attention, it's your responsibility to communicate clearly what you want. So you don't get to do that. Now, back to you, the guy who's writing this. You could suggest that, well, dear, no problem. If you don't like to be on from home this long, then you can go home early by yourself. Really easy. It's not a violation of our partnership. I'm not going to sulk about it. I'm not going to be mad about it. If you want to go home early by yourself, change your reservations, do it. Now, of course, we all know that would, cost some money and blah, 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 but that's up to her. Or you can just tell her that her complaining is making her miserable. She's complaining about something she agreed to, and it's not helping the happiness of you or her or your partnership. She can do it, but it's not helping. See? You're not telling her to stop. Now notice I said she can go home early. You could tell her this. I said or, but it's also and. You can do both. You can tell her the complaining is not helping, and you can go home on a plane. No problem. Anytime you want. You can walk home. You continue. Next time, can I make my own travel plans, set my own flight times, all of that, and then ask her if she wants to join me? It sounds seductively clever, but we'll get to that. Then when she prefers different criteria, different flights, different days, then she can just meet me at the destination. I never considered that to be very partner-like, but it may be more honest. Oh, it's way more honest, but you're right. It's not very partner-like. I don't say to Donna, Well, here's where I'm going. Here are the times. I haven't really considered your schedule and what you'd like to do, but this would be convenient for me. Would you like to meet me there? That would be, she would look at me like, are you well? So what do? You keep talking until you agree. For however long that takes. No joke. Donna and I don't go anywhere till we sat down with our schedules, sat down with our own individual preferences. We may end up making an entirely different trip entirely. One time we decided to go to the Caribbean, and we sat and went through all the different cruises, and we went, there's the Caribbean East and West and South, and we could go to these islands or these, and we went through pictures, and we went on shore excursions, and man, we just had all these different ideas, how long, and at the end we went, that was a really refreshing vacation. And we didn't even go. We just had a great time planning it and seeing the pictures. We'd been to some of those places and went, that was good. For you, the details don't matter. If you want a different number of days, then you agree on it. But nobody makes unilateral plans. You can fly there together, come back separately, go there separately, come back if you want in a different number of days, but you agree on it. She will almost certainly, because I know her, not like that. But she can't keep doing what she's doing now, which is complaining and ruining the fun for both of you. So now I'm addressing her. Simply not liking something is not a plan. So you decide you want to go for 9 days, and she goes, I don't like being gone from, and I'm not saying she used that tone, but people usually do. I don't want to do, I don't like, in our house, our kids learned long ago, I don't like, I would immediately say, I don't care. Because it's not a plan. If you have an alternate plan, then let's talk about that. But I don't like, it's not a step. The real point here is partnership. You guys talk until you agree completely and eagerly on a plan. Until you're complete and eager, you don't have an agreement. Really. This is real common. One partner will go, well, okay. All you did was schedule a later argument or conflict. It was really kind of like the signers of the Declaration, or the signers of the United States Constitution. They agreed, they all signed it, and they all really hated parts of it. No kidding. And they recognized that, like, for example, they knew they wouldn't have a United States if they insisted that there be no slavery. Because the southern states would have immediately seceded, there would have been two countries. Well, or 20 or 30, as big as the continental United States is. So they agreed to leave slavery, and there are records of some of the signers of the Constitution saying, we realize that we've left this to our descendants to hash out. Well, when they signed the Constitution, they guaranteed the Civil War. Really, they scheduled it. So what I'm saying to people as partners is, don't schedule a civil war. Hello? Agree on it now. Even if it means you don't go. You don't go till you're unanimous. There. Apologize for the history lesson. I couldn't resist. The parallel was perfect. New subject. This writer says, I'm 15. I'm going to assume that means years old rather than feet high. I'm 15. My little sister, who's 8, likes to sing to songs that she knows, like that are on the radio or whatever. She does this no matter whether I'm just going to read what she wrote, whether the grammar's right. No matter if she knows the words or not. Well, that's fine. I do it too. But for some reason, her singing annoys me to pieces. If this had always happened, then that would be fine. But for some reason, only recently have I started being annoyed by her singing. So you already know this because you know real love stuff. At 15, you're pretty brilliant at it, actually, because I know you. If you were feeling loved enough yourself, and if you were happy, then you would be happy that your little sister, who's the only sibling you have, is happy enough to sing. You might look at why you're not feeling happy yourself and consider that you're not being loving towards your sister, and do something to remedy it, which won't involve your sister. It will involve getting love from somewhere else. Now, you already know this, but we're just starting with that. You say, I've started avoiding playing certain songs because I hate her singing. But they end up coming, the songs end up coming on later on my mom's computer, and then I get annoyed again. I feel like it's rude to ask her to stop singing because I myself sing often when I'm listening to my own music on my MP3 player, and I'm not exactly the best singer ever. I also know that she'll get mad at me if I do ask her. Yes, she would. And yes, it would be rude. Now, if she were singing in your ear, that would be different. That would be, we've talked about this before. You don't ever have to put up with being assaulted. Like, people smoking in the same room as you without asking and you agreeing. People setting off an air horn in the room, which makes it pretty much impossible to think. But she's not singing in your ear. So it would be, pretty rude to ask her to stop doing something she's finding joy in. You continue. I could also just move to a different room from the one that the music is playing in. But then she would ask me why I was moving. And if I told her the reason, she'd get offended. You're probably right. Or you could just leave the room and you don't have to answer her question. I am astonished at how it's almost an axiom in social interactions that if somebody asks you a question, you think you have to answer it. I get asked stupid questions all day long, and then I get to choose whether to answer them. People will say, well, why are you doing it that way? And if it's none of their business and I'm having a good time, I just continue doing what I'm doing, and I don't answer. Why? To be rude? No, I just don't want to. So when you leave the room, you don't have to answer the question. You could just tell her that you're glad that she's singing, but you need some quiet. That would be an answer. If she got offended. What I'm really telling you is you got choices. You feel trapped when your sister sings. You're not trapped. There's lots of things you could do. I just gave you a couple. You continue. I could just listen to my own music on my MP3 player when other music is playing. There's another choice. Look how not trapped you are. But then you say, my sister gets offended for some reason. Too bad. Really, did you do anything to her when you put your headphones on to listen to your music while she's singing? No, you didn't. You didn't go up and slap her and then put your headphones on. You didn't tell her she was stupid and you didn't like her singing and then you just put your headphones on. If she's offended by that, that's not your problem. Pay attention. Everybody who's listening, this isn't about a 15 and an 8-year-old. We do this all the time. When somebody's offended at us, we feel like, well, we have to stop doing that thing. No, we really don't. Unless, like I say, you're blaring an air horn in their ear or smoking in their face. You don't. Other people's reactions are a result of who they are, rarely a result of exactly what you did. This is something that she's got to work out. If you want to listen to your own music while she's playing hers or while she's singing, there is nothing wrong with that. Memorize that. It is not offensive. If she's offended, then her problem. And then I would suggest to you that you ask your mother to get involved to explain to your sister why your behavior is not offensive. Now, this is, again, not about a 15 and an 8-year-old. When somebody is attacking you for something you're doing, the odds that they will listen to your explanation without hearing it as a defense are really low. No kidding. which is why it's helpful to have a wise person in your life. No kidding. Like your mother, like a coach, like whoever, so that they can explain to the other person they got nothing to defend. I've discovered that on many occasions that I can't explain my behavior, even when I know I'm not defending myself, to somebody who's attacking me because they can't hear it. They are determined to cut my head off, and anything I say is thwarting them from their goal. You continue. This actually happened a few minutes ago. She was sitting next to me when a song she liked came on, and she started singing to it. I was annoyed all the way through the song, which is just parenthetically kind of dumb on your part. Now, when I say dumb, I mean unproductive. You didn't know any better. Now you know a whole lot more choices. I'm just telling you, sitting there through the whole song and being annoyed, continuing to be annoyed at anything is dumb if you have choices. So I'm not calling you dumb, saying the choice is, in this case, out of ignorance. So I was annoyed all the way through the song. I didn't say or do anything. Now you do have things to say or do. On the next song, she continued to sing, so I grabbed my MP3 player and headphones to listen to something else. My sister said, well, why are you listening to your music when there's other music playing? And I told her that I wanted to listen to my own music instead. Perfect answer. That's another solution. We've got at least 5 or 6 so far to her singing. Then she got mad and said, why? Because my singing is terrible, and stomped out of the room. This is what I was talking about. When somebody decides they're going to be offended and attack you, they probably are going to, no matter what you do. So what do? You involve a wise person. In this case, your mother. So you both get to have what you want. You can both listen to your own music. There's no losers here. In happy families, nobody loses. In our family, for example, when there are 23 people here for Christmas or whatever, there are no losers. We don't do compromises. Well, you have to put up with this because this person likes it. No, we keep going till we find a solution. You can both hear your own music, but what your sister wants is for you to like it when she's singing, to like her music, and she's wrong. You don't have to do that. See, you're not insisting she do anything. She's insisting that you like what she does. She doesn't get to insist on anything from you. She doesn't get to have that expectation. You continue. I know the problem isn't her, it's me. You're a genius at 15. But I don't know why only recently I've had a problem with her singing. I don't feel any different from normal. My mom hasn't changed her normal schedule of doing things. Everything's the same. But for some reason, my reaction to my sister's singing is far less than loving. It may appear that things are the same, but I doubt it. There's something going on. Just because your mother has her usual schedule doesn't mean you feel loved. So you may have some additional stress in your life that you are not recognizing. That's a possibility. You may not be feeling as loved by your mother. So you need to ask yourself, do you feel close to your mother? Close, not just we have the same schedule. Doesn't mean anything. Do you get enough attention from her? Would you like more would be a better question. Is there additional stress at school? Whatever. All these things could contribute to your being less tolerant of your sister. And then later on, it turns out, it's just parenthetically to everybody who's listening, she did go talk to her mother. Her mother did start to spend more time with her, and the singing problem is now no longer a problem. Poof. So what appeared to be a singing problem, which is what everybody would address, and where people go and what the headphones are. No, it was about love. Again, gee, shocking. Not shocking. New subject. This was on the Real Love and Gratitude group Facebook page. I'm not sure I've ever been there, but there's a gratitude Facebook page, which I think is very cool. I do occasionally, the reason I got it is because people go through the Facebook pages and they send me quotes that I might find useful, like now. So this person says, lately it seems like I'm being tried from all directions. I'm a single mom. That would be tiring right there. With 5 children. I'm tired just hearing it because I've had 7 children, and when I had 5, I was tired. 2 of which are my foster sons. I have to deal with the issues around my foster sons since we're at the year mark, meaning you've had them for a year. So the boys can go home now to their mother, but she's a pathological liar and keeps messing up, and I don't see how that's going to happen because she keeps getting into trouble. At the same time, the children's father is forcing me to go back to court. He's preventing me from talking, meaning the children's father, the blood children's father. So now we're not talking about the foster kid's father. The children's father, because the lady writing is divorced, is forcing me to go back to court. He's preventing me from talking with our children while they're at his place for the summer. So there's obviously some custody arrangement thing where the kids are at his place. Their phones keep getting broken or lost when they're with him. Not to mention that he takes them out of state and doesn't tell me, which violates multiple parts of our divorce decree or whatever they call it in state to state. I don't have a problem if he goes out of state, actually. Just tell me the information that he's supposed to tell me that he's going. I tell him when we go somewhere all the time with the kids, he doesn't co-parent and he hurts our kids. I've accepted that. This is just a little parenthetical whisper. No, you really haven't. But now we're going back to court. At work, we have a huge migration of computers that I'm responsible for, and the people responsible for the planning were subpar. They caused me and my team to jump through hoops. I started working out because I know I'll feel better, and then I ended up with a bone spur in my heel and I can't run. So I started swimming again. I'm tired. I feel numb. I can't sleep. I'm trying to have real love for myself, but I feel like I'm falling short. I feel like I don't know where to start getting my zen back and having real love for myself. What are your thoughts? Turns out I have more than one. You are wallowing in your pain, honey. You don't mean to. When I describe to people what they're doing, like wallowing in your pain, they almost invariably hear that they're doing it intentionally. No, you're not, but you're still doing it. And it's hurting you. You're even causing more pain because you're wallowing in it and because you're reacting to it badly and not seeing what you're doing. Notice all the ways where you're claiming that people are doing something to you because your attitude, it's not what happens that determines whether we're happy. It's how we respond to what happens. Full stop, as the Brits would say. So first, your foster sons. You said their mother keeps messing up and therefore you, quoting you, have to deal with issues because of her. So you blame her and then you state how you have to, again, do something. That's a lot of having to. I'm tired. And this is one of the reasons you're tired. Second, ex-husband. You said he's forcing me to go back to court. He's preventing me from talking with our children while they're at his place for the summer. Wow. Same. Blaming him and then complaining about what you have to do. Turns out you can do whatever you want, but anytime you spend trying to change the behavior of an ex-partner, remember he's an ex-partner because you didn't want to live with him, and now you're emotionally living with him, it's almost universally wasted and simply causes more conflict. So you harped on how he's not as responsible with you as you are with him. My response would be, yeah, so? Who cares? He's being himself. That's why you divorced him. Isn't that why you're no longer married? To get away from that. And yet you keep trying to change him. Not going to work. So he doesn't let you communicate with the kids for the summer while he has them. But you don't treat him the same. Again, so what? You're not going to change him. So what if you don't get to talk to your kids for part of the summer and he's just being a jerk? You go back to court, you think he's going to pay attention to that? You already said he's in violation of your court-ordered custody arrangements, in your words, in many ways. You think that going to court is going to change him this time? Nope. You'll just get more drama and conflict and more angst about it. Really. And yet you say he's forcing you to go back to court. Actually, you're insisting on going back to court. It's you. So I'm not blaming you, honey. I'm saying it emphatically because this crazy, tired, exhausting, conflict-ridden life is a result of the decisions you're making. Am I blaming you for those decisions? No. I'm just saying the decisions suck. So I'm trying to help you see how you can make different ones. That's all. If you want to continue making these decisions, I will be unaffected because I don't go to this particular Facebook page normally anyway. So this is to help you. Third, work. You said you had to jump through hoops because somebody didn't do their job. Is this sounding familiar to you yet? Just like working with your ex or the mother of your foster sons. So what if you were inconvenienced? Who cares? Just do your job and make up for their poor planning and be happy that you're paid to do it. You did the same with your exercise description, but I'm not even going to go through that. Have to, did this, blah, 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 blah. You're just feeling assaulted from everywhere. You might consider finding more love in your life from other people, not these crazy people who don't care about you, and believing the love you need with as much energy as you devoted to, say, exercise or changing your ex-husband. Not kidding. It's far more important then, with that love, if you focused on being loving, raising your children, doing your job, being grateful for all that you do have instead of complaining about the inconveniences which are unavoidably involved with life, well, then you'd be much happier. Like as in infinitely happier. We love to complain. It just doesn't do anything. Just yesterday, a man said to me, I feel disconnected from my wife. And I said, so what have you done about that? What have you done to increase the connection? Well, it turns out he hadn't done anything. Well, then it's just an idea, but you might try doing something yourself before you complain about somebody else. It's just a thought. New subject. Our daughter is 3, says this person. When she misbehaves, we send her to her room to stay until she decides to behave in a civil way. Okay? When she has to go, she kicks, screams, drops to the floor so that we actually have to drag her or lift her dead weight. I've seen this more than once. How do we deal with this? Baby, she's actually having fun at your expense. She's gaming you. No kidding. They're not entirely aware of it. Actually, I would say, just like adults, most of our choices are unaware. But she's learned the trick that almost all children have. And here's the trick. They make their own choices, and then they make you pay the price for their choice. Really. Illustrations. I'm a kid. I don't do my homework and I leave it at home. Well, who cares? I just call my parents and they pay the price of taking my homework to school, even if they have to get off work. I've heard this 1,000 times easily. You're kidding. You just paid the price for your child's mistake. Let them fail the class and see if they remember their homework the next time. A kid calls from jail, their parents, and because they're in jail for drunk driving, what do the parents do? Rush to the jail and bail them out, unless they call me first. In which case I say, oh, no, there's nothing that would teach better than a night in jail. Toddler throws food on the floor. This is almost universal. No kidding. The parents then what? Clean it up. Well, this is a fun game for a toddler. Well, I can get my mother to get down on her hands and knees and clean everything up, which is very entertaining to watch, just by throwing food on the floor. So the kid goes, give me some more food. They throw it on the floor. A toddler pees his pants. who knows how to use the toilet, really. They know way earlier than you think. They're gaming you. So what do the parents do? They change the kid's pants. No. That's paying the price for the child. It teaches the children to be irresponsible. Really. We train them that we will rescue them from their bad choices. I just got through talking to a woman who has a 30-year-old son. Now, pay attention to this. She does all of his internet searches. She picks him up and takes him to the grocery store because he's disabled himself. He can do anything. He can do all of this. He simply refuses to and calls her to do everything, and she does. He's 30. She drives to his apartment and makes his bed. Pay attention. They were all living together, the mother, the father, the son, and the son got so out of control with his demands that the parents decided they couldn't live with it anymore. So I hadn't heard this before, so I'm finding it particularly odd. So in order to make that stop, the parents moved out and left the child in the home. The kids learn to rule you if you let them, because you're actually teaching them to do that. We train them, we'll rescue them from their bad choices. So why wouldn't they continue to make them? There's no price they pay. So what's the solution? Always make the child pay for their misbehavior. Not punish them, simply pay the price. They just experience the consequences of their behavior. Now, listen, both good and bad. So they pay the inconvenient price. They also pay the price of being more responsible and learning how to do things when they have to pay the price for their choices. If they're responsible, they get more privileges. If not, they get fewer or even imposed inconveniences. I never picked my kids up and took them for a timeout because they were misbehaving. They just went themselves. I never did drag a child. I told them that they could go down the hall to their room by themselves and play with toys or have the light on or whatever was pleasant for that particular child. Or if they chose to argue with me, or if they chose to make me take them to their room, which, remember, I've already told you I never had to do because they listened to this consequence. I said, if you choose to go that direction, then you'll have to stay longer in your room with the door shut rather than open, with the lights out rather than on, with whatever the child hated. No music instead of having music, no books instead of having books. Every kid's different. So you choose. We did it in a shorthand. I said, you can experience the consequence of your choice the easy way now, or refuse, and the price will rise. Easy now, hard later. And they looked at me into my eyes, which were not laughing. Actually, they kind of were. And they realized that I wasn't kidding. And they chose the easier way. Duh. Every once in a while, a kid would choose the hard way. And all the other kids are watching this. And the kids learning from this, and they're going, well, dang, he's not joking. So when he says the hard way, why would I choose that? It's like, it'd be like going to Walmart and you pick something up and you go to the checkout and they say, this could be $10 or it could be $100. I'd like to see that filmed. Who would say, well, I'd like to pay $100. Well, your kids are that smart? Really? Easy or hard? But see, you have to mean it. Walmart means it. You don't. That's the problem. And they don't get mad. If you say, if a thing is $100 and you say, I want to pay $10, they don't get mad. They just go, well, it's $100. And if you walk out with the item in your possession and you only paid $10, then they go, well, we're still not mad, and we'll call the police and you'll be arrested. There. See? That's how you parent. You parent like the cashier at Walmart. Walmart parenting. This is the way that you teach them about choices, responsibility, consequences, and, pretty much life. New subject. A great number of conflicts, just my observation, come from expecting other people to be like us. I don't mean a great number, I mean like huge proportion. Our definition of stupid, or certainly strange, really means not like us. But see, we're all different. And our differences make the world beautiful. And yet we want everybody to be like us. Well, it'd be just boring. I mean, what if we were blue and the entire world were blue? Well, blue's a really pretty color mixed in with the others. I like blue. I wouldn't want the world to be blue. And yet we do that with people. It just seems kind of silly. My children believe that I value their differences. And we would play games when they were younger to bring out those differences and celebrate them. Really. We would play a game called Next Word. On my computer, there's volumes of these. And when they come now as adults, we play the game Next Word with them and with their children. It's that fun a game. I would say a word from the list that I have on my computer, and then each person picks 3 words that might follow that word. They would write them down, and then after they were done, everybody would compare their words. You would get a point, and we did it with pennies. First one to 10 pennies wins the game. We're not very competitive. Actually, we're not competitive at all. You get a point if your word was unique, if you were the only person who selected the next word, but the word also had to make sense. Everybody at the table had to agree, yeah, that was a good one, and we didn't think of that one. See? So see how not competitive this is? Everybody's picking a word. They're trying to be unique, and everybody has to agree that it was a good. So everybody ends up congratulating the person for getting a point when they didn't. Ooh, this is just fun. It's kind of clever. I didn't realize how clever it was at the time. It was later. I'm not bragging. It was just later I figured out that it required cooperation. So examples. I would say airplane, and then they would write down like propeller, wing, engine, food, crash, parts, pilot, but I'd say bed, time, bedroom, bed springs, bed. A couple of them said knobs and broomsticks, which I found particularly amusing. And then one day I said fair. So you'd think, well, let's see, fair deal, fair trade, fair exchange. And 2 kids, just with no expression on their face at all, as though, why wouldn't everybody think of this, said, is wheel. And I went, what? Is isn't a word. Fair is wheel. We laughed about that till we were sick. No kidding. How fun that was. To celebrate the creativity of these 2 kids who came up with something that the rest of us would never have thought of. I wouldn't have in 100 years. So one of those 2 kids, 20 years later, sends me a clip, a little video clip of a game called Family Feud that's played on television. And they do a thing with what goes with, it doesn't matter. The host said to the person he was talking to, list all the words that you can think of list a word that follows the word pork. So in that particular case, he was playing Next Word, although he didn't realize it. What follows pork? And the guy that he was talking to without a pause said, cupine. Pork, cupine. That I just roared. It's same as I did, because this is one of the 2 kids who said fair is wheel. Now, here's the real point. It was really cute and it was fun, but the real point is this child so thoroughly felt loved and accepted and celebrated for being different 20 years ago when she came up with that truly unique, creative, and possibly odd answer, that when she found an example of it 20 years later, she just had to share it with me. Priceless. I didn't require her to be like me. That doesn't mean that there weren't times I did that wrong, but this is the result of being celebrated. Differences between us or among us are like colors. They're like instruments in an orchestra. They're like parts of a car. They all work together for the beauty and the functionality of all of us. Ugh, gorgeous. New subject. A man writes and says, my son, Craig, is angry at his mother, my ex-wife. She doesn't treat him very well. How do I talk to Craig about this? Apparently, I don't remember the age of Craig, but I'm going to guess 10-ish. The point isn't to bash his mother. The point is always about love. Always. What would happen? I've asked this on every video chat lately. What would happen? How would things be different if I brought love to this interaction or this situation? So that's what you're going to bring. You're going to make this about his happiness, not her mistake. Help him see that he's loved by you and that there are other people who love him, if there are, and that his mother treats him the way he does, because you have to acknowledge it or he's not going to feel seen, that his mother is in pain from how she was treated as a child, and that in her pain, she sometimes lashes out at Craig. She doesn't mean to, but in her pain, she sometimes does. You can further illustrate it and illustrate that you're not bashing his mother by reminding Craig of times that he has lashed out, perhaps at you or perhaps at a sibling or, whatever, and ask him, on the occasions that you lashed out, were you happy? No. No happy kid ever lashes out at another person. Well, at 10, yeah, he'll get the comparison, and you've addressed the subject. New subject. Here's a lady who introduces herself by name and says, I haven't communicated with you in like 5 years. She said, I was reading our email correspondence dating back since 2006, so 11 years ago. I am so grateful that you shared real love with me. I used to think that my life would never change and I would be suffering forever in panic and old habits. Well, how lovely. I'm thrilled for you that you've learned so much and that your life is happier as a result. She continues, my husband is still a very angry and hateful man. Just a week ago on a family conference call, he had a tantrum with the entire family on the conference call. And he'll probably be that way for the rest of his life. It used to bother me, but I have grown stronger. And I realized that, this is his choice. Well, bless you. He's just too afraid to admit that he's wrong. But you're not, which is why you're growing. You continue. I used to worry about him leaving me, but, now I live a happy and loving life regardless of whether he's willing to participate. Seriously, I never imagined that I could do this, and I'm loving it. My adult girls and I have a very good relationship now. They've grown up, moved away, and I'm so grateful that real love has helped me to become a better mother. In the end, I see how learning real love has rewarded my entire life, and I'm just grateful. How fun is that to hear? Haven't heard from her in 5 years, and she writes to go, well, I'm just really liking my life. My husband's still a bit of a jerk, but actually sounds like a lot of a jerk. But I'm happy. Good for you. We have a choice. New subject. Sometimes, this person says, people will back me into a corner with their endless persuasion and yammering. Clearly feeling intimidated. I want them to go, and I push them away. But other times, the only way they'll shut up is if I agree to do something they want. But then, I resent it. I resent having to do it. Yeah, you were taught from early childhood to please people. So you stop the pain now. Actually, that wrong word. You decrease the pain temporarily at the cost of a lot of discomfort or inconvenience later. Remember, I was talking about with my kids. I would say, after you made a choice, now you have to pay the price. You can pay a small price now or a big price later. And what you're doing is you're paying a small price now and the big price later. Yeah, that really doesn't work very well. You say, I'm very interested in what your perceptions of the difference between a promise and an agreement are. If I'm backed into a corner and I use the word agreement, I probably won't end up doing it because I resent it. But if I promise, then I might do it. We used to do this when I was a kid. Somebody would say they'll do something, and then you'd say, do you promise? Do you double promise? And I can't remember what followed. Do you double dare promise? Nowadays I hear people say, do you pinky swear? Like, that's going to make a difference. Because if I swear that I'll do it, then now I mean it. So what you're really saying is, unless you swear you're going to do it, you never are. Most people agree to do things and then don't. And they place greater weight on a promise. We really do. But that's not the point. If you agree to do something, you've made a promise. There isn't a difference. It's a different word, but you agree or you don't. And once you've agreed to do something, the other person has a right to an expectation that you'll do it. Now, that doesn't give them a justification for their anger if you don't, but they do have a right to an expectation. Otherwise, why make an agreement? Why would I accept your agreement to pick up my child from school at 3 o'clock unless I could expect that you'll be there and not just strand the kid? See? So I do have a right. You're not taking seriously the agreement to pick up my child from school could have serious consequences, as could the violation of any agreement. Now, as a kid, I was taught that if you make a promise, I was taught, you always keep it. This is kind of a separate subject, but we're still talking about promises and agreements. The phrase was, and it was always spoken with solemn tones, your word is your bond. Yeah, I used to believe that. I don't quite now. I've learned that there are exceptions. Now, I can't tell you to make exceptions, but I've learned that there are exceptions for me. If I agree or promise to do something, but circumstances change, then I may change my agreement. For example, I agreed to talk to you on Skype at 9 p.m., but I get sick, and after 8:30, I can't even stand up. Well, I'm going to email you and say, I ain't making it at 9 o'clock, because I'm not going to further endanger my health to keep a promise to talk to you at 9 o'clock. Or I make a promise to talk to you at 9 o'clock, and I need to take, let's make it dramatic, I need to take Donna to the emergency room. Yeah, that's called you lose. Really. So there are, because I've watched people keep agreements. They're just insane. They're at their mother's deathbed, and mom says, promise me that you'll stay in the house, meaning stay in that house that you were raised in the house she's dying in, and take care of it. And the child says, okay, the house is falling down then. So then the child ends up imprisoned in a house they never wanted to stay in. You know, that's a really dumb promise. And so at some point, sometimes you get to say, circumstances changed, or I was insane when I made the promise. But then you also have an obligation, I don't use this word very often, an obligation to tell the person you've changed your mind. Really. Well, not your dead mother maybe. But so I email people and I say, hey, I can't make it at 3. We'll arrange a later time. I don't usually explain why. I just say, can't do it. I won't give up my mental or physical health to keep an agreement. That's pretty much what I go by. I'll do my best, But if I drain myself in keeping an agreement, it's going to be harder for me to keep every subsequent agreement. So it's still about loving. If I drain out trying to love you, and then I can't love the next 10 people, yeah, was that a good deal? No, it's not a good deal for the next 10 people. So it turns out to be an unloving decision. Crazy, huh? New subject. This is about a lady who is making a decision about where to live. And she has a hard time making decisions. I mean, really hard time. I want to go here. Well, I don't know. That place is a little warmer. Well, but that place has a really nice Subway sandwich shop, and that, back and forth. It gets easier when we remember the influences in making our decision in the right order. What matters most? Priorities. She tends to choose the place first. So I want to live in Atlanta. Then she worries about the characteristics of that place. Well, but the rentals are harder to find in that place, and compared to Raleigh, North Carolina, it's hotter and by 3 degrees, and then she just gets all confused comparing the differences between the two places. You could do a spreadsheet comparison of two places and you'd be nowhere. I'm not kidding. In fact, learning theorists have now learned that when it comes to making complex decisions, like where to live, like who to marry, our brains are really fairly useless. It's too complicated. We go by our feelings. Our feelings aren't just some wild hair in our head. Our feelings are a combination of all of our life's experiences that combine together to create that feeling. That's not a little thing. That's called intuition. And a little, depending on how well we listen, a little inspiration. We make complex decisions based on feelings. Go with feelings, but still, we have to make decisions or consider influences in the right order. So what do we need to remember? First, so I'm talking to her. I love you. I care about you. That's not going to change no matter which city you're in. And since love and happiness are the things that you live for, they're the most important considerations, well, that really kind of levels the playing field between the two places immediately, because I can love you no matter where you live. That's number one. That's number two. Number 3 through 10. God loves you, which, depending on your orientation in life, would actually be number 1 through 10. Or if you have a more casual relationship with God, it may be, 13 through 25. I don't know. I love you. God loves you. What matters is that you feel loved. So you've already won, no matter what decision you make. Once you realize that, I talk to people all day who agonize about decisions, and I can't count how many times people have said to me, I feel loved by you, I feel loved by my blah, 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 and they name the people who love them, and they go, so I've got a decision to make, and I don't really care, because I'll still be loved. Oh, well, now that you feel loved and you don't feel afraid, which destroys the possibility of making any good decisions, now you can see usually a clear decision already. You can't lose. No fear. Instead of saying, well, I went and visited this place and I liked the people there. Well, they're going to move. They're going to find some reason not to like you. They're going to die. I mean, I can't make a decision based on that. I can't see what's going to happen tomorrow. Well, I really like the weather in that place. I'll bet the people who lived at the base of Mount St. Helens really liked the weather there before the entire mountain blew up and significantly changed the weather. Instead, where do I want to live? I'm already loved and happy, and understanding that it's not the place that will make me happy. And how do I want to make that happen? Go with the feelings. And once you made your decision, just stick with it. Then it's, How do I find the rentals? Not they're harder here. You just work out the details. Uncounted people say, well, things fell into place there, so it was the right place. Yeah, things fell into place for those 2 days. Those 2 days ain't all of life. Complicated decisions, you got to get rid of your fear. Love is the first thing. Then you'll see the right choice. No kidding. That's how it goes. So, as always, if I bring love into a decision, into a situation, to a relationship, into a circumstance, how will it change things? I can promise you this, it will change things for the better. You'll be smarter. You'll see things clearer. You won't be afraid. You'll be more efficient. You'll be more productive. You'll feel closer to other people. And it is an absolute guarantee you'll be happier, which is, well, what we want. I'll talk to you in a week.